having a mare. I thought that my issues with like the Bluetooth and that was just me, but I think it might be either my earphones or my laptop. Oh no, ignore me.
It's a classic start to an episode.
It is, but I've just working. I don't know what I did, but I've got it working. I think I had to like restart my Mac and then restart my earphones, and I've basically restarted everything. That tends to work, and here I am. Oh god, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I think they just wanted you to admit that it's you, not them.
It's me. Hi. Oh, I'm so sick of that clip at the moment. It's bloody. I haven't even listened to the album, the Taylor Swift album. I've just heard that 10-minute clip. And the problem, it's me.
It's me.
And I'm like, okay.
I've only listened to the Girl Talk remix, which I think is incredible. But every time I show it to someone who's a Taylor Swift fan, they're like, "It's ruined the vibe of the original." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
Am I missing something here? Is this has it blown up on TikTok or something though? Why is it about so much at the moment?
Yeah, it's like this one little clip from one of her songs. It goes like, "It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me." And it's just like everyone's using that for TikTok to be like, "I'm the problem," in relation to like X, Y, and Z.
It's so
Sure,
relatable.
yeah.
So relatable. Oh my god, I'm the problem.
This is where I feel like I'm missing out on literally every zeitgeist at the moment.
But
by
like
not being on
culture,
TikTok.
generally.
Yeah, I just feel like I kind of hear secondhand about like, so I do get a sense of like things that are a phenomenon, but often like just a few days too late, which is enough to be massively too late in kind of TikTok time, and just generally like sometimes not at all. I'll just hear about something some months later and realize it was like a big thing. I just feel I should probably just take the dive and get TikTok, but I think
I'm in the same boat as you. So.
I only got it this month because I was like,
Ooh.
I'm starting a new music thing. I should have a music TikTok because that's what everyone does these days. To like get your music out there, because you can just get put on people's For You page randomly, and just like it's quite easy to just like randomly go viral compared to other sites. So I was like, I'll do it. So I made my first TikTok like, "Hi, this is my song," and I was literally like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if you do. You do hashtags on TikTok. I was like, nobody does hashtags anymore, do they? But you do. Oh, I was so like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like a boomer. I'm so confused.
It's a weird thing about like our age as well, is we're technically speaking, I think we fall into the same generation as like everyone who does TikTok as like that's their main social media. That's our generation. But I just feel so divorced from them. Just like I can't relate. I'm sorry, but I also can't relate to millennials. We're just like this kind of in between.
Yeah,
we got left behind.
With a
Zillennial.
no
Or a
man's land.
zillennial. I don't know if I like zillennial. Sophie, would you like to introduce yourself? Speaking of the fact you're doing music promotion, anything like that.
I'm not really doing music promotion. I just put a song on Spotify. It was very stressful actually. It all went wrong.
Whoa.
But it's up now. And it's got 50 streams in its first week. So
Nice.
You're beating the podcast there.
It's called Falling Fast. And I wrote it after I had a meltdown in Amsterdam airport. Louis was there for that, kind of.
I was there before the meltdown.
Yeah.
Did I get to witness the start of it when you were just lying on the floor crying?
Yeah, that was the start of
But
it.
like,
that was the beginning of the end.
I'm not sad.
But you know what? They say tortured artist. The end, the come down at the end of Kingsday is my torture. Being in Amsterdam airport with 1 million people.
What name's it under? Is it just under your name on Spotify?
It's nymph, like the woodland creature.
Oh, nice. That's very exciting.
I go for a very woodlandy look. Is that the word?
Sure. Okay. Like English folkloric kind of vibes.
Yeah.
Is it that so?
Yeah, I ran around in a wood wearing a long white dress. Took the album artwork.
Is that what you uploaded to TikTok, or was your TikTok just?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the TikTok was me running around in the woods.
Amazing. have you got to? I'm curious about the TikTok thing. Have you got to the point where you're like, because a lot of people try to learn how to play the algorithm essentially, which I don't even know whether that works. But have you tried that yet, or is it you're not quite at that?
I don't understand how the algorithm works. The videos it suggests for me are still like not at all what I'm into. They're like random. I seem to get loads of like primary school nostalgia videos. I think
Sure,
I must have liked one of them once, and now that thinks it's all I want to watch. But I feel like it's good because I'm definitely not addicted to it because it doesn't show me videos I want to see. So maybe that's a good thing. But also, I'm not really I don't know. I was surprised because the first TikTok I uploaded, like I only had like 10 followers and like 600 people saw it. I was like, what? So it just gets views from people scrolling, I guess.
From what I understand of it, like like the very first one you post gets like randomly like massively passed around. Like the algorithm boosts your first like 3 posts, and then it stops showing people for a while, and then it waits until you kind of pick up steam again. That's my understanding of it from like other content creators who talked about being scared of TikTok having a go.
See, that makes sense. I fucked up then because I uploaded a few videos like album coming out, single coming out 2 weeks, some single coming out in 1 week with like little snippets from the song. And it was getting like, like 300, 400 views. And then I uploaded like, the album is out now, go listen. And it got like 50 views. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you played yourself. Yeah.
It is a crazy kind of news of change to the music scene, I guess, that so much of it does seem to be defined by
what
TikTok.
blows up on TikTok.
Yeah, essentially. Like I mean, like a lot of I think I've mentioned this before, but a lot of the drill scene seems to be kind of, or at least some of the more like popular sides of it seem to be driven by things that blow up on TikTok. I mean, Central C seems to have just completely blown up on there, I think. It's just interesting to see, the like and like there's the whole Pink Pantherist thing, doing like your kind of 1 minute songs, because that's basically all you need for TikTok essentially. It's fully shaping music at the moment. Again, another thing that I feel like vaguely aware of it, but also often 6 months behind.
Yeah, it is like the songs that have like a juicy catchphrase or something, you know what I mean, that you can use. Yeah,
if you can do I think Central C's one that he blew up with recently was "How Can I Be Homophobic? My Bitch Is Gay," which is questionable allyship. But it's either an ally anthem or just a continuation of a long history of homophobia, but in slightly new and more acceptable form. It really walks that line, but I guess that's the point. It feels provocative whilst also ultimately sort of ostensibly being about progressive views, I suppose. So somehow managed to kind of satisfy both crowds or dissatisfy them. Either one works in the algorithm.
Either way,
People are talking, you know.
People are talking. That's what counts. Yeah. I imagine as well, TikTok's driving a lot of pop music, right? Because if you've got a catchy enough hook, this is why this like linking back to what we were saying about Taylor Swift thing at the start. All you need is a catchy enough hook that has a little bit of edge to it, and you've got all your preteens and your tweens and whatever being like, oh my god, this is so relatable. You just have like the chorus in that like little 15-second, 20-second lip syncing thing or whatever,
or something with a dance routine.
Oh yeah, to be fair,
they love a dance routine, don't they?
The origin in it of TikTok, it was just a dancing app, or was that?
Yeah, it was called Musically or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like this whole thing, and then it got like bought and merged with like whatever the company that owns it, Chinese company that owns it, and they kind of rebranded it. And I mean, they played it very well, because there was a point when it's like, this is a weird comparison, but it's like Fortnite, where they both started out as kind of successful things, but kind of not what they ended up being. And at some point they released new features that suddenly took off massively, almost by accident, and now they just dominate the popular culture.
Sure.
So like TikTok was Musically, which is mostly dancing and lip syncing. Like the whole point was that it had like a catalog of music, and I think you could like choose songs and then like lip sync to it, and then people would duet you and stuff like that. And then it just took off into being like a whole social media platform. In a similar way to like Fortnite was like a base survival thing, and then they just like on a whim released the battle royale that it's known for now.
Oh,
And that's what
right.
became really, really popular and exploded. It's just these weird things that like you just accidentally make the right. It's weird. I remember this is like a bit of a tangent, but I just remember seeing like videos being like, oh yeah, there's this new game called Fortnite Survive the Night, and it was like base building, like wave survival, and everyone kind of reviewed it. It was in beta, and they're like, it's not really got any like it's fine, but like it's not going anywhere. It's like it's not going to make an impact.
Yeah.
It's probably all going to forget about it. And then they literally just released like a free update, like, oh, we've also added this battle royale mode, but we've included the building mechanics from the base building stuff. And then was like, not sure about this. And then here we are today.
It's like when the
TikTok dances are in Fortnite and vice
when
versa.
the Sims added swimming pools. Oh, game changer that. Game changer. When they added that you could delete the steps. Yeah.
Huge
Generation of serial killers born.
Yeah.
There's the reason why there's so many Ted Bundy like documentaries. It's just a whole generation got hooked.
with drowning people in pools. Is that why they removed it for Sims 4? They realised the evil that they'd done.
Yeah, the base game actually didn't have pools. And then everybody kicked off, so they did an upgrade, an update to give everyone pools.
Welcome to our gaming podcast.
Well, yeah, it's been a while since I've had a spin-off podcast, isn't it? That's where early on I was coming up with a spin-off podcast every episode. There we go. That's ours for this one.
Yeah.
Ronan's gaming minute, a hot minute, and it's done in TikTok form.
I feel highly underqualified.
Well, if you want to discuss something you're more qualified for, I'd love it if you could tell us if it's not too stressful to relive it, the tale of why it was such a nightmare to upload
Falling fast.
your first single.
Yeah. So kind of, I wrote this song. I've been writing songs for ages, and so I was in a band as a teenager, which Louis knows, and then there was
Resistance.
We don't remember that name, even though they're still on Spotify, and I don't know how to take it down. It's very embarrassing.
That's quite exciting.
If you want to listen to 15-year-old me,
Link in bio.
15-year-old me trying to sound like Hayley Williams and failing, you can go.
Maybe you got to share links. Share links in the description or whatever.
Yeah, so I did that, and then kind of took a break from music to go to drama school. And then I got into writing music for theatre and like writing film scores and stuff. I say film scores, I've done like a couple of short films. And yeah, I really enjoyed that because I always feel like I've always been writing songs, but I've not had like a genre or like a sound, which is my thing, which has always kind of put me off releasing anything as a solo artist because I was like, oh, but it'll sound so different from the one song to the next. And like, when you're given a brief of like, oh, I've written this play and I want it to have this sound, or I want the film to sound like this, or you're given a reference point, it's kind of fun because you can like write anything and you're not like, oh, it needs to sound like my sound or whatever. But then I graduated drama school and I wasn't working on any music for plays or whatever, and I've just sort of been writing songs, but been like, they've just been sitting on my laptop like, and I've not been doing anything with them, and I've kind of been like, oh, I don't know, then they're not good enough or whatever. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna put them out there, and then people can listen to them if they want, and if they don't, fine, at least I've like released it into the world. So yeah, I picked this one song that was like, came from a very emotional place. Started writing the lyrics while having a panic attack in the airport to calm myself down, and then finished writing the song at home after. And then I uploaded it through a distributor. All fine. It was like, this is the date it's coming out on all my social medias, like, watch out, 12th of November, song dropping 12th of November. 12th of November came, and the song uploaded to the wrong artist's profile. So it was my song, but on a different nymph's page. So it was like all of their music plus my song on their page, and it was on everything. It was on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Tidal. I don't know. It was like wrong on all of them. So that was stressful. And I was like, I'm like an absolute technophobe as well. Like, I'm okay with like music production, but anything else, I just am like technologically illiterate, it feels like. So I was scrolling through all these Reddit forums, like trying to find an answer, calling up helplines, calling up the distributor, going on. And I was stuck in such a loophole because there's like Spotify for artists, Amazon for artists. And it's like, okay, just log in by telling us your artist ID. My artist ID was this other artist's ID. But I couldn't log into any of them, so I couldn't get help from any of them.
Oh no.
So that was I was just there like, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just taking it all down. I'm not putting music out there. But then it's still not fixed on everything, actually. Maybe it will be by the time this is aired. But the distributor said they're on it, and it's fixed on all the main things. So it's fixed on Apple and Spotify now. And I'm like, who uses anything else anyway? You know?
It's true. I'm not really sure who does Tidal. Is Tidal like, do people use Tidal? Was that just a flop?
I think Jay-Z uses Tidal, but I think he's one, to be honest. I don't think Amazon Music's only used when people use it on their Alexa and stuff. I don't think anyone like actively signs in. Deezer? Is it fixed on Deezer? I think my gran uses Deezer.
Like, they're all there, but yeah, I'm just letting it happen now. It's fine, but I think it's getting fixed. So anyway,
I can definitely like see how it could be just so completely deflating.
Yeah.
To, you know, be excited to upload your. It's so weird that it's not. I guess it is because you put it through a distributor, but it's so weird that it can just be assigned to someone else entirely, despite the fact that it's like, no, I'm not. Like, I don't know how do you prove you're not them? Like, and why did they just assume you were them? And why that?
Yeah,
nymph?
I know it was
like of all nymphs. I'm sure there's several nymphs.
My nymph is uncapitalized, and they uploaded it to the capitalized nymph. So I had to write all these emails like, "I am the uncapitalized nymph," which
I am lowercase nymph.
So stupid. Yeah, and the thing is, like, I feel like at the end of the day, it's not that big of an issue. It's everyone's like, well, you know, everyone will just wait for the song. It's not like that big a deal. It's not like I've got millions of fans waiting for this song or whatever. But I think it was just the fact that I'd like had to proper hype myself up to do it in the first place. And like I had all these like voices in my head being like, nobody wants to listen to it, don't bother, you know what I mean? And then I finally did it, and then it was like, well,
and it's not even on your page.
Yeah.
There is a satisfaction as well to like when you upload something. Like, this is something that I've only experienced through doing this podcast. But when you've done it and it's uploaded and it's there on Spotify and it looks like kind of professional, you're like, ooh. And then obviously you were just robbed of that on the day because of Did you listen to the other nymphs' music at all? Were you like, what is this other person's vibe?
It was not the vibe. It was like punky ska, like psychedelic kind of, but like very intense, like... I don't even know what I'd call it. It was just like lots of drums and lots of noise. But then for like a few days, it switched to my name, but the artist's radio was still based on their radio. So like my you know, soft acoustic folky song would finish, and then it'd go into like like based on this artist, you know, like
you'd love this. Like, well... I'd like to think that there's some of the other nymphs fans out there, and they'd not released a song in ages, and then it's like, oh, new nymph drop. That's
the thing. They also hadn't uploaded anything since 2012, and all of their description was in an alphabet that I didn't know. I think it was Russian, but I couldn't, you know, I was just looking at the alphabet like, what? like all the song names are not even legible to me.
It's not like you could have reached out to them and go, look, hey, look, sorry, I could use your help. There's been this misunderstanding.
Of all the bands it could have been, it had to be obscure Russian ska punk. That's just that is golden. But despite the hurdle, you feel the satisfaction now for having got that out into the big wide world?
Yeah, it feels good to have done something and been like, it's there, people are enjoying it. The 50 people that I've heard from have said they like it, so that's good.
I like it. You can add that. You can add me to you can make me 50
thanks.
first.
I've not heard from all 50. I meant to say, out of the people that I've heard from the 50, I've not been chasing them all down. Like, what did you think?
I got a sneak preview of it though, because you sent me it to ask about the mix on it. So I got an extra listen, a couple of listens
Yeah,
under
that
the
was
belt.
another sort of I've never mixed and mastered on my own before. I've always kind of done the recording and like mixed it a little bit and then sent it to someone else to do the master. This is the first time I've done all the production on my own. So that was a nice sort of level of satisfaction as well. Like, I think the overall mix is still a little bit on the quiet side. Like, I've realised when it blends from song to song, the overall sound is a bit quieter, but...
The fact that it's a home brew, though, that you've taken it from like you wrote the lyrics yourself, you've done the instrumentation yourself, you've mixed and mastered it yourself, all in like your room. Like have you taken it to any like professional kind of like you didn't take it to a studio or anything, did you?
I did it all in
just like essentially
yeah,
bedroom
I did it
prop?
all in my bedroom with lots of duvets and padding. And I did all the instruments. It's like a mixture of me playing live instruments and then some MIDI stuff as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant.
So it's entirely
Yeah.
homegrown, which is really cool. Obviously a bit unsurprising that like maybe it might be a bit quiet or something like
Yeah.
that. Like I don't think anyone would be like expecting super high end studio production when it's you swaddled in blankets. But it does sound really good. It does sound great.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm looking forward to
something to be really proud of.
I'm looking forward to hearing it now, having heard about it, and I've got to say I'm liking that our podcast is now being used for press tours. That's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We created our own little like mini ecosystem here. That's
Yeah, I've done 4 podcasts today. Actually, I'm on the tour.
yeah. This is the one where you're all tired out and you're gonna get fed up with any questions that we ask.
Yeah, I thought I was preparing my starter, main course, and dessert. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Part of the strategy is you just keep asking guests on. Eventually, one of them will make it famous and be like, "Oh, shout out to that shitty little podcast that I was on."
Oh yeah, I was going to wait to tell you about Florence and the Machine when Ronan was here. Because yeah, I saw her on Friday. Literally was like a last minute plea for tickets. Managed to get 2 tickets like 3 hours before the gig.
Who did you get them from? Like who had these like?
Well, I was like
ready to
asking
go?
around. Someone was like, "Oh, I've got 1 ticket," and I was like, "Then I'm going on my own." And then I was like, "I'm just going to check the resale." And then there was like a bunch of standing tickets still available. I guess it hadn't sold out. And I was like, what? I swear I looked when it first went on sale and it had sold out. But I guess a bunch of people had.
I'm convinced they play some weird games where they like pretend that things are sold out to like try and build hype, and then it's all bullshit. Was it Ticketmaster?
It was I can't remember what it was. It was something else. It was like StubHub maybe. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, managed to get the tickets, got to the O2. Yeah, she's on for like an hour. It's amazing. She sounds great. She looks great. The set is amazing. It's like all these dripping wax candles, like around a dinner table, and there's like dripping wax chandeliers, and she's in this massive pink dress. And like, yeah, she's like barefoot dancing about, dances into the crowd. And then she comes back on stage and she's like, it's a good gig when your feet are bleeding. And we're all like, oh. And then she's like, this is my sacrifice for the music. My blood sacrifice for the music is on the stage. And yeah, this like techie comes out with a cloth and is like mopping. And we're all like, but then she keeps going. She does like 2 more songs, and then she's like, actually, I can't put any weight on my right foot right now, so I'm just gonna go talk to the medic, and I'll be back out in 10 minutes. And then she ran off, and we're all just like waiting. And then yeah, she comes back out. She's still barefoot. She keeps going. She does a lap of the O2 barefoot while singing Choreomania. She's like stopping to say hi to everyone, keeps dancing about, get to the end of the show. Yeah, it was a really good show. And then that
is commitment.
Yeah. And then the next morning she puts out a statement like, I broke my foot on stage last night. I'm having to cancel the rest of the tour or like postpone it to next year. Yeah. So she was...
How do you break your foot in such a way that it bleeds?
I don't know.
That's
then
worrying.
She kept going.
That's a concerning break.
Yeah.
Oof.
So did it feel like she wandered into the crowd, then wandered back on stage and she was then bleeding.
Well,
She'd then
I
broken her foot from being in the
couldn't quite
crowd.
see because I was like a bit back from the front, but like, so she like ran down to like the metal barriers at the front and then sort of stood up on them and was like singing out to the crowd. And then I think she turned around to like dive into the crowd, and I just sort of saw her go down. And then the cameras cut to like the drummer or something, and then when it cut back to her, she was like running back up onto the stage. So I don't know if it was then that she broke her foot, maybe. Like that would make sense. But she also does a lot of like dropping to the floor.
I imagine her doing quite dramatic poses, throwing herself
Like she
about.
did she was like running around the O2, like I said in Choreomania, and then she ran back on stage and she's going like and I was like, she's out of breath. And then I realised it was like the intro to the next song. It's like those noises. And I was like, oh, okay.
I feel like she's the kind of artist that, like, if I saw her barefoot and her feet bleeding, but she didn't comment on it, I'd be like, oh, it's part of the set. It's part of the the dress, the vibe.
I'm quite interested that we were obviously just talking with you and Tom, Louis, about Kendrick's very sort of theatrical and kind of set piecey performance, and then Florence and the Machine have a similar thing. I'm guessing that's just to do with the kinds of artists that they are.
Kendrick obviously a coward though, because he didn't break his foot like a real artist would.
Well, no, but I'm curious whether have you seen a lot of this? Do you reckon there's like a bit of like a increase, like people are so excited post lockdown and all that kind of stuff that they're wanting to go really big and make like real set piece kind of performances, or do you think this has just always been a thing? I'm not sure, or is it just the artists? Like,
I think it's artist dependent. I think there's a lot of people in kind of Florence's lane that do these kind of more dramatic.
I'll talk about this more when I talk about City and Rina as well, but like I'm a massive art pop fan. I've always loved like, and it kind of annoys me sometimes when people are a bit snobby about people. I feel like some people are like, oh, I like this person because they're all about the music, and like this, you know, and unlike this other person. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, but the fact that
try to separate the performance from the music, but sometimes the performance is integral, I guess.
Yeah, like these are, I think, a lot of art pop artists are amazing at doing the whole package. Like one of my favorite artists is Kate Bush, and like she has this amazing choreography, fashion sense, does these avant-garde music videos, but I still think her songwriting and the actual music and the lyricism is great and would stand up on its own. If she just wanted to stand there and sing, it would still be amazing, but she doesn't.
But she presents like a complete package almost, like it.
Yeah, it's almost like a persona. I feel like Florence is a bit of a persona as well. Like, it almost feels a bit like she puts on a character of this kind of ethereal goddess-like fairy figure, you know? Like, that's sort of how she presents herself. And I don't know, I think it's exciting. I love theatricality, though.
I think people made a big deal out of Kendrick's performative side of like the live show, like The Guardian, everyone, because it's just a rarity in that genre. Hip-hop artists don't tend to do that. And I think he took a lot of cues from these kind of more performative artists like Florence, and I think that's the reason it gained a lot of kind of traction. But yeah, I do believe that like there's a whole subset of artists who do this kind of more all-encompassing performance, and I think it's like quite genre specific usually.
Well, I guess Nas X did that as well a few years ago. It was quite groundbreaking because it's like hip hop, but it's like fashion and very performative music videos with lots of choreo and stuff, and people it was like kind of unheard of.
I was also going to say that when you mentioned that you'd kind of studied kind of theatre and are into all your sort of like writing songs for theatre and stuff, that made this album click. I'm going to do a Louis like smooth segue because
very smooth, because
I thought there was a theatricality to this album, and I don't know whether I've pushed that ahead too soon. I've not got the confidence that Louis has with these smooth segues, but that might be.
Do you want to know what my segue was going to be?
Oh no, have I ruined your segue?
No. The moment was lost, but when we started talking about it, my brain was like, oh, maybe we could do...
Well, why don't you both do your segue and then Louis can edit in his favourite?
My segue doesn't work now. It wasn't going to work. It was just going to be when you were talking about Florence breaking her foot, I was going to be, oh, did you want to hold that girl?
Oh, God.
They just get more and more genius every time. This is why I was so hesitant to
Yeah,
do
that's
mine.
one word.
Mine is literally as simple as, yes, theatricality. This album's theatrical. Let's discuss it.
Yeah, it's very
I'll
theatrical.
put this thing in there.
More of something else entirely.
Sophie,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to tell us about this album, this artist, and why you've chosen it?
Yeah. God, such a broad question. So, Hold the Girl. I was already a fan of Rina Sawayama. My housemates during lockdown introduced me to her, like when they were listening to her first album, Sawayama, and they were like just playing the songs around the house, and I was like, oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. And then they were like, this is Rina. And then they were like, this is also Rina. I'm like, wait, this is the same person? Because like, I couldn't believe it was the same artist. She's so genre bouncy, I guess. Which is also something that made me be like, okay, you know what? Let's put music out there, because other people are just fucking around and being like, I'm going to write a country song and then I'm going to write an electro pop song.
Yeah.
So, fuck it. Anyway, not that I'm anywhere on the level of Rina, but, you know, it's sort of like nice to see artists that do that bounce around and don't stick to one sound.
Yeah.
But I do think that actually Sawayama was a lot more like I feel like Hold the Girl, she bounces around, but it's a lot more cohesive. And sometimes if you go from certain songs, like I don't know if you listened to her other album, but like she has a song called like Shut the Fuck Up, and if you go from that to like Comme des Garçons, it's like very jarring because they're so different. It's like heavy rock into like dance pop. It's like what? But yeah, so basically, anyway, I'm going on a real tangent, Louis. You're gonna have to like.
We love tangents. Yeah.
So yeah, I was already a fan. So I bought tickets earlier this year to see her in October, knowing it was going to be the album tour for the album that hadn't come out yet. So I knew I was going to listen to it when it came out. And then it came out in September. I started listening to it, I think I was working or on my way somewhere, and I listened to the first few songs. And I was kind of like, it's okay. Like, I think I prefer the previous album. Like, it didn't. Well, there was a couple songs that I already knew because they came out as singles. This Hell came out as a single, and Hold the Girl. But first listening to like the first couple songs, like Catch Me in the Air, I was kind of like, okay. And then I carried on listening to the album when I actually had a bit more time to focus on it, and I was like actually listening to the lyrics, and I was kind of like, whoa, like what did, like, I think when it got to Holy, I was like, did someone write a song about what I'm going through at the moment? Because it just resonated so hard. Yeah, I listened to the rest of the album and was like, A, I really like the sound, and B, it just seems so relatable to me and what I've been going through this past year. And it feels like, you know, when like an artist comes out with something and it feels like it's just what you needed to hear at that time. Very affirming, and like the themes of the album, like around accepting things from your childhood and like queerness and religion and like looking after your inner child and kind of healing from stuff. Like, yeah, well, I was kind of thinking all that anyway. And then I went to go see her in October. It was amazing and everything. I'll talk about that more later. But anyway, like halfway through the set, she kind of stopped and was like, yeah, so I started writing this album during lockdown when I was really struggling mentally. So I started going to therapy, and my therapist told me that I have to look after my inner child and hold her and nurture her. And then that's why she wrote Hold the Girl, and that's where that name came from. And yeah, it kind of is like a therapy album about her talking about, the things from her teenage years. And I feel like, so I started going to therapy earlier this year, talking about very similar things like accepting queerness, moving on from religious trauma, I guess. And just learning to accept life as it is now. And I remember, I think it was before I went to go see her, actually, I left my final therapy session, like I was done, and I listened to the last song on the album, Being Alive. And I was just like walking down the street, like sobbing, like happy tears, because it's like, the chorus is like, I used to make my world so small, prisoner to my bedroom wall, but now I know what it feels like to be alive. And I was just like, I do know what it feels like to be alive. I do know. You know, it just hits you really hard, and you're just like, wow, I'm actually living as, it feels like I'm living as my own person now, and I'm, yeah.
I've got a couple of thoughts, if that's all right, just to like I think first of all, it's really interesting that you described this as a therapy album, because we were discussing that last time, and I think one of the things that sort of came up was that idea of like resolution, I guess. And so it's interesting that you sort of described that about this as well, where you kind of go through a struggle and you go through some kind of like process of revelation, and it ultimately kind of resolves by the end. I don't know how much that's the actual album itself, or whether that's almost like your relationship with the album, or both. But I just think that that's so fascinating as well. And you also kind of used a word there, like affirming, and that was like something that I kind of felt from the whole album. I can really picture a lot of what you're describing just by the nature of the music itself, where it sort of has this sense of, I want to say almost like empowerment, like you feel a bit like you can take on the world listening
to
this album a little bit. And so basically I just feel like I can completely kind of picture what you're describing. Like a lot of that stuff seems to resonate through just the sound of the music itself. Not that I necessarily be able to pinpoint exactly what it is, but there is something that feels very, very empowering about it.
And I kind of love that it's like this album touches on, like, in places, really heavy topics, like also for her, like sort of anti-Asian hate that she's faced, and it talks about homophobia and it talks about mental illness and her relationship with her mother and all these really serious things. But it also has like absolute bops on there that are like, that can come on in the club and you can have a great time. And I think that's really actually hard to do, to write songs that touch on these heavy things but you can still have a great time. Not every song on the album is a great time. Some of the songs are more sentimental and heartfelt and sad to listen to, but a lot of the songs touch on these heavy things but are still really positive, and I think that's quite rare.
They struck me, a lot of the bangers on the album struck me those kind of songs that you could like listen to in private and kind of belt out, sing along to, maybe with some tears, you know, really connecting with. And then that means that when you see them perform live or they come on in the club, you sing out with your like heart out, chest out, like scream your lungs out, enjoying, like having a good time listening to it again, because you've had that kind of emotional connection to it the first time. And like the absolute banging tunes make it so that you've got, it's like funneling that kind of energy into a positive direction, and you create that kind of connection with it. I think everyone has that kind of sing your heart out in the car on your own song, or in your bedroom or whatever, and then that translates to seeing it performed live, or it comes on in the club and you're like, oh my god, this is my jam. And it's not your jam that you like vibe, like dancing to anything. It was your jam that you were like, this got me through things, and now I'm here with you having a great time. Yeah. Like that kind of energy.
Well, no, it's funny because it's like, This Hell is probably like the most popular song, I guess. Like, it's been the most widespread song from the album, and it comes on in the bar I work in all the time, which is a gay bar, and it's like everyone just dances along to it. It's like, woo, yeah, this hell is better with you. But the whole song is like about the fact that fundamentalist Christians tell you that you're going to hell, and being like, cool, sounds like a great time, let's go have a party in hell. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of funny to take that hate and be like, make some fun country music.
Is it quite a common thing, like in the gay music community, I guess, to kind of take that hatred that is received and put like a spin on it and make it kind of, I don't know, like if it is necessarily, I just feel like there was something about This Hell that felt really familiar. Not necessarily like the lyrics or the ideas explored, but maybe to an extent. But it had an almost like, I think in part it was like the production. I think it felt a bit like Lady Gaga, early 2000s Lady Gaga. And I don't know if there's just an element of this, like,
it does feel like it fits into like a really, really rich history in kind of like sort of like queer club culture, I guess you could call it, which goes right back to disco. I'm sure it goes back further than that, but disco in particular is what I'd think of it as kind of like being the beginning of like a sort of a real sort of rich cultural tradition, which is like a kind of celebratory and kind of like, you know, sort of rebellion or kind of revolution through celebration rather than through, say, if you look at another more kind of like a sort of quotation revolutionary kind of art form or music sort of genre. If you look at something like punk or whatever, or like we've had a metal album on, that's sort of revolution through abrasiveness.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess there's a kind of like rich history of often kind of like just pure joy and sort of celebration. I mean, like sometimes then that overlaps with abrasiveness when you get the kind of more hyper pop elements and stuff like, you know, like Sophie and I think there were moments on this that had almost that kind of hyper pop element.
I think a bit because like she collabed with Charlie XCX, and like I feel like she takes a lot of influence from like that kind of like Sophie Cobra kind of hyper poppy sound
Sure.
on certain songs, which I feel like is a very, I'm not saying it's just a queer thing, but it's very like that kind of like hyper pop is very easy to like, you go into the gay part and it plays and you feel like I'm happy here, I'm safe here, I can dance the night away.
Yeah.
And there's something quite nice about that when it's like, yes, we're fighting for gay rights and trans rights and whatever, but we can still come here and let our hair down and belt out Immaterial Girl. And, you know, Rina kind of has that a bit too. I was going to say, it's similar to all countercultures, really. Like you say, it's a similar thing in metal. It's like we can let go and we can go to this place and we can scream our heads off and release the pain. It's just a different form. It's not screaming, it's bopping about, I guess.
It's channeling negativity and turning it into positivity.
Yeah.
Reprocessing it and bringing it out as something that's just, like you say, some absolute bangers, and then bangers that you can then share with people in a safe place, in a joyous moment.
Yeah, that's interesting with this album as well, going back to that, because I feel like it kind of goes on a journey, because there's the opening songs are kind of like, setting out the themes of the album, like Hold the Girl, I'm Holding My Inner Child, and then it kind of goes a bit darker, and it feels like some songs are written more from a place of rage, like your age and Frankenstein, like your age is very much like, I'm the age you were when you said these things to me now. And I can't believe you said them, like, that was fucked up. Yeah, some of the songs in the middle really do feel like angry. But then by the end of the album, it feels like coming more to a place of like, these things have happened, but now, like, being alive feels like now I'm hopeful for the future, kind of.
I definitely think Your Age for me was like the hardest listen, in the sense that I really could feel like hurt in that song. And like, I could feel that kind of emotion, like you say, that was being channeled. So I totally get what you mean about it. I feel like it goes into a bit of a darker place. And I guess that links again back to like this idea of the therapy album, being that the album itself acts as the journey through therapy, where you you kind of start and you're kind of addressing these initial problems, and then you dig deeper into them. And then hopefully, you know, if it's going okay, then you kind of emerge out the other end being like, I've addressed some things, I've got some other things to address, but we're making progress. There's stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's good to be alive. Yeah, that kind of positivity.
Yeah.
And that kind of catharsis through release, I guess.
Oh my God, I just realised I've been saying being alive, it's to be alive. God. Fake fan.
Fake fan.
Fake fan.
Yeah.
In my defence, it's only been out 2 months or something. That's the thing as well. When you were like, oh, do you want to come on the podcast? Initially, I was like, oh, I'll talk about a song from like when I was younger that's stayed with me or something. But I feel like that's what everyone does, you know? Well, not to be like, I'm not like the other girls, but you know what I mean?
But like, throwing shade on all the previous guests.
Like
podcast beef.
A lot of people talk about a song from their teenagehood or whatever, and then, or that their parents introduced them to.
Yeah, we've had a lot of like kind of like early years formative albums. Although I would say it is interesting that I guess we've still got a kind of album that feels sort of formative, even if it's not early years formative. It's been there for a journey of sorts, which has kind of been a common theme. Also, like one of the things I've been really enjoying hearing about people's album picks is the almost universally, I think, in terms of the people who we've had on anyway, the universal nature of the fact that it's always a slightly communal experience, even if it's that somebody then takes off the album and has a personal experience with it. it's often that they've got it from somebody else. I think that's really lovely. So you were saying that you sort of just heard it around the house with your housemates, was it, or with your friends? And I love that experience. I think it's really hard to beat getting music from mates or from family or from whoever else, just because I mean, in part, like, they're always gonna know you or perhaps do something different to you in a way that an algorithm just can't quite pinpoint. But also, it's just because then you end up with that kind of shared experience, don't you? I guess where when you kind of like first hear a song or slowly through osmosis learn to love a song via some other people. It's just such a lovely, it's a lovely kind of way to find a new passion, I suppose.
And it was really nice as well because, like, so the two people that introduced me to Rina were then the two people I went to go see her with. So we all used to live together. So they're a couple. We used to live together, but now they live just the two of them. Richie messaged me, like, tickets are going on sale. We're going to get them. We're going to go.
Shout out to Richie.
Shout out to Richie for knowing I was too organised to get myself tickets on time. So that was really nice to kind of, like, share that experience with them as well because, like, I know for both of them, this album meant a lot to them and caused some tears.
Was there tears at the show, at the live performance?
It's interesting how different songs hit different people, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, for Kieran, it was Send My Love to John. Just absolutely got him. And I think it's a beautiful song, but it doesn't so much relate to my experience, I guess.
That's the one that has a bit of a country pop kind of twang to it, right?
It's quite country feeling, and it's basically like a song from the point of view of a mum, sort of looking back on the fact that she didn't accept her son's relationship and pushed him away, and now she, like, regrets it. And apparently, I looked this up, actually, it's based on a true story from Rina's friend, where her friend had a really estranged relationship with his mum, and his mum was like a first generation immigrant, and so was really like, you're going to get a good job and get a wife and make the most of the fact that I've brought you to America. And then he turned out to be gay and she couldn't accept that. And then one time they had a phone call, and then at the end of the phone call she was like, oh, send my love to John, which is the name of his partner.
Oh, wow.
And he was just like, oh, she like accepts it.
God, I'm feeling more emotional, I think, like, listening to the way that you describe some of these songs. I was getting shivers there. I feel a bit emotional.
And I think in the concert as well, Send My Love to John was the only point where she just sat down and sang, which was really powerful because she's full on, like, puts on a spectacle, like, very maximalist. I think there was 4 costume changes.
Amazing.
Backup dancers. She had this, like, so there was 2 levels, and the top level was, like, had all these wind fans pointing up. And there was this, I think it was the 3rd outfit she came out in, was like this white, she almost looked like a jellyfish, like this big skirt with all these bits pointing out, and she, like, stood on the fan and belted out, like, Phantom and Being Alive, and these bits were just, like, flying everywhere. Wow. And it just, and the lighting design was insane as well. I've never seen such good lighting design.
Yeah.
And the choreography, I love me some good choreography. But yeah, also, like, the blend of, like, there was live instruments, but also, I guess, what must have been backing sounds. And it all just blended really well with her voice, and her voice was insane.
What was the crowd like? What was the energy in the room? Because, like you were saying, like, the people you went with each had different kind of emotional reactions to different songs, and, like, it's quite a emotion heavy album in the sense that certain songs are the bops and bangers, but other ones are the ones that are really heartfelt, and then certain ones are the ones that some people sing their heart out to and others will sway to. Like, what was the general, was, you know, I imagine, was there, like, mosh pits? Like, what was the energy?
It wasn't moshy, no. It was very, like, yeah, so because the tickets went on sale before Hold the Girl came out and before This Hell came out, so I feel like the people that got tickets were kind of, like, not the new fans,
right?
And I feel like, I think it was the biggest gig she's ever done. I'm not entirely sure.
What venue was it? Sorry,
it was the O2 Brixton.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it was a really nice atmosphere in the room. Everyone was really, like, giving her lots of energy. Everyone around me is like belting their heart out and really getting into it. And she was really great at like the way she communicated with the crowd was like she felt very present and very like she was really commanding the room. And to say she's kind of only really started up and coming the past couple of years, she just felt like she had star quality. Like she felt like you could tell she was like, I think I'm a superstar.
Yeah.
And like exuded that confidence. Even if it was like fake and she was nervous or whatever, it just felt like she was completely commanding the room and being so vulnerable and open with the room about the meanings behind the songs and stuff, but also and hyping it, like the journey. Because it kind of started with the more like stadium rock kind of songs like Hold the Girl.
Yeah.
And then it went into the more like kind of aggressive songs like Frankenstein and Shut the Fuck Up. And the energy was very like, everybody jump, da, 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 da. And then it went more heartfelt and slow. And then she kind of ended on more like, let's have a party and celebrate, and did This Hell and Excess and
Nice, yeah.
yeah, the like fun ones to end. So it really went on a journey. It felt like the room really went on a journey with her. It was very, very gay room, very tall people room as well. Actually, I'm very glad I wore my big boots. I feel like she has a lot of lanky fans.
Yeah, that's a really interesting phenomenon. That's you wouldn't expect like fans just to.
I think that I'm convinced that there's like a secret society of tall people who, as soon as artists go on tour, they buy all the tickets and then just stand in front of you. Because like the average height goes up once you enter a live tour venue.
Well, the good thing about the OT Brixton is that the floor is slightly raised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it did mean that because I wore these massive heels, my feet, and then I stood on a slope for 2 hours. By the end of it, I was like, I cannot stand up any longer. But yeah, very tall. I guess lots of like twinky gay men, you know, all wearing cowboy hats, ready to. I don't know if you've seen the This Hell music video, but they're all in like cowboy hats.
Amazing.
Doing like line dancing to the song.
I feel like cowboy hats are really in right now.
Is that because you saw my Halloween costume?
You dressed as a cowboy.
I did think that was a cracking costume, to be fair.
It was very low effort. It was on the day I don't have a costume, I'll buy a cowboy hat and wear some denim.
It worked. You rocked it, to be fair. But I just feel like I've seen like, I don't know. I'm trying to think like what other artists are part of this wave. Obviously like the Nas X and people like that. I just feel like the cowboy
Lady
aesthetic,
Gaga did it on Jolene back in the
Orville
day.
Peck as well. Like he's like a big country.
I like that he has those sparkly things. He has those things covering his face. It's very cool.
Yeah.
He has like little curtains that come down from his cowboy hat.
He's one of those artists that, like we were touching upon, like presents a character, presents a full package aesthetic kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like it's been this like complete revitalization of the old West, but in this new kind of more dancey, less sitting around a campfire chewing beans and more like dancing.
Because cowboys are gay again because of that Benedict Cumberbatch film.
Yeah, I've still not seen that actually. That's
What's it called again?
I don't know why I thought you're going to be cowboys are gay again because of assless chaps. And that's what I was expecting it's going to go.
Chaps are back in, actually. I'm seeing a lot of chaps around in East London.
Chaps? What are chaps?
They're like
fellas.
You know what cowboys wear, or motorcyclists sometimes wear them like over their jeans, and they're like leather. They have like fringe down the side.
I'm getting a picture.
But people wear them like without the jeans underneath.
Sure.
Little booty moment.
I am getting a mixture of like fashion statement stuff, but also what appears to be bondage stuff. Is that?
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite BDSM-y as well.
Okay, yeah.
Are you talking about this kind of air of being a pop star, being a superstar in the live performance? I feel like I really picked up on that in this album. Just like every performance and like all the production value and all the energy that's put into it, it feels like somebody who's been a pop superstar, like on Lady Gaga's level for the past, 10 years. It feels like it feels like someone who's at the top of their game and has been releasing these kind of albums for years, knows what they're doing, is experienced, can touch on the emotional notes, and can also just pump out some like club bangers, like making it look so easy.
It really doesn't feel like someone who's just doing their second album. Like,
no, crazy.
And I think, like, I mean, she is like 32, so I guess she has been making music for a lot. I mean, I haven't actually looked at her discography, but I think she's been around for a while, but just not really breaking through. Like, she's been like featured on other people's songs and things like that. But I really did feel like this album, I really liked the previous album, but I feel like the previous album, there were specific songs that I was like, I love this song, but it didn't feel that cohesive as an album. It just felt like she was like, I've written this and I've written this and I've just like thrown stuff at the wall and seen what sticks. Whereas this felt like
almost like mixtape energy rather than album energy.
Whereas this felt like there's a journey, there's a blend, like, and also in the live show, the way that, like, the instrumentals that she added, like, the show started with a really slowed, like, so the lights all went down, and then it's like this crazy light show with a really slowed down, the bit from Frankenstein where it's like, I don't want to be a monster anymore, and it's like building and building and building until she comes out. And then, like, even when she went and did her costume changes, which I guess can feel like dead time, the dancers came forward and did insane choreo, someone came forward and did the guitar solo from Phantom. Like
sick.
The end of Phantom, they came forward and like carried on the guitar solo. And yeah, it just like made the whole thing feel really flawless. But not too produced at the same time. Like, it felt like she was still in the moment and going off what the audience were giving her.
I've just got a couple of thoughts that we haven't like directly touched upon. And one is just like the sheer range of genres that she plays with. Like, I just think that's just incredible. And I guess you sort of touched upon a little bit of saying that was one of the appeals, actually. And that makes sense, actually, given that you were saying that that's kind of like your own way of sort of going about it. I just think, like, yeah, the sort of utilizing the whole of kind of like 20th and 21st century music history as like a kind of one big pool to draw from, and also just current sounds. It was really exciting. But also, like, on top of that, I think behind all of that is it feels like a real like songwriter's album. I'm not entirely sure what I mean by that, because I probably don't know enough music theory either to kind of comment on that. But like each song is very much at its core constructed as a song. You know, it's not like a beat as such. Like, the production feels like it's brought in afterwards, and you can add these production flares. But at its core, it could just be her and an acoustic guitar, and each song would still have the power, which I guess kind of is a reversal of the way that a lot of music. I mean, like we listen to a lot of like hip hop. I guess like it's a reversal of that kind of way of going about music, where you'd have to start with a beat, I suppose, and then you kind of riff off that beat. These very much feel like they are songs, you know, which it doesn't sound like much of an observation. But I guess that's also interesting in the context of you being a kind of songwriter, that you can clearly sort of can relate to that.
Yeah, no, I think it's been really interesting, like, this past year and slightly into the year before, to like hear the music that people wrote when they were locked in their room and couldn't go anywhere. And like how that differs to the songs that they've written collaboratively in a studio. Like, Florence's new album Dance Fever is kind of similar. Like, a lot of the songs are about being stuck in lockdown and that. And like, this album isn't about lockdown, but it's clearly come from a place where she's had the time to reflect on her past. And I feel like I did a lot of that in lockdown. That's kind of what led me to make the decision that, like, oh, I'm actually not recovered from these things that happened to me from a teenager, because I don't know if I would have realised that otherwise, because I actually had the time to reflect and think about who I am and what do I want.
It was a weird time of being forced, like, because there was nothing else to do. Like you say, you're just locked in a room. You're by yourself and your four walls. You are just forced to kind of address things that have been on your mind. They get brought to the forefront, and it definitely becomes like a perfect storm in a way to generate some very complicated feelings and then try and work your way through them
Yeah.
and then try to address them. Yeah.
And so many people work through stuff through creating art or creating music, and it's kind of interesting to be able to like hear the journey of creation. Like I've kind of already said in this album, you can kind of hear the journey from like discovery to anger to hurt to acceptance. And yeah, I had another point to make after what you're saying. I feel like, yeah, I'm always really... I mean, I listen to all sorts of music, to be honest. I don't really have one style that I listen to the most, but I'm always really drawn to things with a narrative or with a story behind them. And I really appreciate, you know, the music theory that goes into stuff and that side of things as well. But I feel like there are songs where I'm like, oh, I can appreciate, even songs without words, like, I don't know, like Shostakovich's Piano Concerto, where I'm like, oh, this isn't just music, this is a reaction to being in Stalin's Russia and having his family taken away, or whatever it is. Like,
Sure.
when you feel like you can hear the story behind the music. And I feel like I can hear that with Rina's album as well. Like,
It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day. I can't remember what it was now, actually. But anyway, they had a neuroscientist, somebody who used to work in music, and then they went off and did a PhD in neuroscience on kind of like what's going on in the brain when we kind of react to music, when we like music, when we dislike music. And so, I mean, I don't know what the methods were. I'm not sure whether I'm entirely convinced by like the full breakdown, but one of the things that she broke it down into sort of the 7 components, the 7 different distinct parts of the brain that kind of can fire when you're having a positive reaction to a song. And one of the parts of the brain was associated with authenticity, I guess. So she was saying that for a lot of, you know, it's a spectrum. You go from like pure abstract art, I guess, to like I guess you could call it narrative art, or you know, something with a truth behind it. And that's almost like what you're describing. It's kind of like things that seem to sort of contain some kind of a personal element or some kind of a truth. Yeah, I don't know how, like, I'm always a bit skeptical about sort of people when trying to bring neuroscience or art too much. But
like, this is the theory of why music, I'm like, you can't explain music. But also, I find it really, because I sometimes have like music synesthesia, but I have it more, don't have it with music that I don't connect to. Like, if I don't connect to a song, I don't see any images or feel any text. That sounds really bizarre, like textures in my brain. Like some songs in my brain that has a texture, or that has this song has that color or that image or whatever. And I feel that when I'm writing songs as well, I constantly have like the senses and things in my mind.
The image and the feelings that you're trying to convey.
Yeah, kind of.
And you can feel it when someone else is successfully conveying them and you connect.
But to be fair, sometimes it's just like it doesn't make sense. Like I can't explain why.
I like that you said texture. I like that you're like, I can feel the texture. I know what you mean.
Yeah, like Frankenstein is grass. Like when you dig your nails into grass and it's like the mud and you're like dragging your nails through it and then you get mud in your nails.
Interesting.
So that is what I see when I listen to Frankenstein. I don't know if it's because it's like Frankenstein's monster and he's like crawling through dirt or something. Yeah, or some songs are like fluffy or silky or spiky.
Yeah.
Can I ask, does that help you lead then in when you've done your own song and you've done the music video for it? Was your idea for the music video based about the kind of imagery that sprung to mind? Like, say if you had to do a music video for Frankenstein, would you do it based about clawing your fingers through dirt and grass? Is that like a jumping off point, or?
I don't know, to be honest, because it feels quite subconscious when I think these things. Also, I didn't realise that it has a name until recently. Synesthesia, I think that's what it's called. I didn't know that was a thing. I just thought everybody did that.
Yeah.
I also do
I love those revelations when people are like, your brain does what?
Yeah, like I was trying to explain to someone how I see dates and time and like calendars. And they were just like, what the fuck? And I was like, well, what do you do? And they're like, nothing. I just think of 1942. And I'm like, yeah, but don't you see a 1 to 100 grid and then you zoom in on 42 and then you zoom in on January to December and it's like a 360 thing around you? And they were like, no. I was like, oh.
I have thought
That
before
sounds
that
dope.
it's kind of odd that we think of time as moving left to right rather than right to left or down to up or up to down. There is a bit of like a kind of like it must be partly cultural, mustn't it? Like 'cause I guess we read from left to right as well. So I don't know what that's anything to
Yeah.
do with.
Like I always see January on my left and December on my right
Yeah,
in my brain.
yeah.
I see that. Yeah.
It's
That's-
like it
I
goes
don't
in
quite
a,
weird
have the zooming in on
it
42.
goes in
though,
on
to
like
be
a
fair.
semicircle in front of me.
Oh sure,
Are
okay.
you sure you're not just wearing like augmented reality glasses all the time?
Maybe.
You're just living in
Maybe.
the future.
But I think it's why I was always really good at remembering dates in history because I have this mental 1 to 100 grid and
It's
I
like that
fill it
mind
in
map thing,
mentally.
yeah.
It's
like
that
Sherlock. Yeah,
episode
yeah.
where you get your mind palace. Let me just
it's
rifle
my
through my
mind
calendar.
palace. No, but I do have that. Like I remember when we were studying Russia, I could like zoom in on 1917 and I'd like see February and see that revolution, and then I'd zoom in on October and see that revolution, and then I'd zoom in and see like 1 to 30, like which is the month, and I'd like
Yeah.
fill it in.
Pretty
mentally.
handy.
Yeah, I look crazy in an exam when I'm like closing my eyes. Let me see October 1917.
Were you there doing like the finger movement, so you're like pinching and pushing and like is Sophie having a fit? Does she need medical
Yeah.
attention?
Oh god, the exam pressure's got to her.
I think the closest so I'm railing it back a bit on the synesthesia thing. I think the closest thing I get is that I'm very easily influenced by album colours, and so for example, I don't know, Currents by Tame Impala is very much a purple album to me. That specific tone of purple, and it just sounds it. It really does just sound it. But like I know that in part that is just influenced by the album cover, but I really wouldn't be surprised if the album covers are in turn influenced by the sound of the music. You know, like I think.
Yeah.
I often feel like when you're creating, for example, an album cover, when you're creating or a music video, something like that, when you're creating a visual medium to represent audio, there's just when you're making it, or like you're working with the person putting it together, and you're like, oh, try it like this, try this layout. You just know when it feels right. So they'll have done the color, and I want it to be purple. Like, and he won't have like, you know, necessarily understood why. But it's like you, Ronan. Like, I guess it sounded purple to him, which is why the cover. He's not just arbitrarily chosen purple. Like,
Oh, for
or
sure.
maybe they tried a different color, and they were like, oh, it's just not quite it.
Yeah.
You know, like. Even to the dumb extent of when I was making the thumbnail for this podcast, which isn't particularly good, but like I was like,
I
it's
like
that
it.
color blue.
Yeah.
Ah, thank you.
I also like it.
But I was like, okay. I
It is that
appreciate
blue.
it. But like when I was doing it, I was like, it's this blue and it's this font. I went through so many
Sure.
fonts.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like these fonts. It's not the right
It's not
font.
the one.
But you just have like a vibe of what you want it to be, or like what this thing you've created is visually for you.
I just want to ask, did you write the music, the little interlude bits? Where's that from?
It's
Well,
Ronan's
yeah,
music.
that's me. It's sort of oldish stuff.
More of something else entirely. That thing.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh yeah, that
It's
was written
memorable.
especially
It
for
sticks
it.
with me.
It is
Yeah.
pure jingle stuff in another lifetime out of
Yeah. I would love to be a jingle writer, you know. I think
It
that
would
would
be
be
quite
such a
fun.
fun job.
I sometimes annoy Hannah by like going around the house just singing songs to what I'm doing.
Jingling.
You know, like Marshall in How I Met Your Mother. I feel like he does that, but I just I very much narrate what I'm doing to a tune sometimes. It's very irritating.
It's the son that's played by the guy who played Will in Inbetweeners, but he plays one of the sons in Friday Night Dinner.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's a jingle
And
writer.
his job is a jingle writer, and they just keep his brother makes fun of him for all the time. I'm like, that'd be a pretty dope little
that'd
gig,
be a
to be
great
fair.
gig. I love it when you meet people like that as well. Like, they're like, "Oh, I wrote this theme song," and you're like, "What?" Like, I know that theme song, but they're not famous at all
Yeah.
because they just wrote the theme song.
Yeah, they just like pump
They
out
get
sound
to have
effects and themes
royalties
and
for it
stuff.
for the rest of their life. Like, pretty good deal, you know.
I feel like we've drifted
Yeah,
from talking about Hold the Girl quite
You
significantly.
could do a whole
So I'll bring it
podcast
back
on
and just ask you
synesthesia, though.
to.
Like at some point,
We could.
Yeah.
That's
what's
the
keeping
thing.
our
I
back
was just
pocket?
realizing, like, we could end up just keep talking about all this stuff,
Yeah.
all these tangents forever.
Also, final, just before I'll stop talking about it now. But I found out recently it's more common in neurodivergent people, and that's often linked to like sensory overload and like getting overstimulated and stuff. It makes sense to me now, like, because I'll be having a conversation with someone, but at the same time I'm seeing 1 to 100 grids and colours and textures and all these things are going on at the same time, paired with like a loud, hot, smelly room or something.
And then someone else tries to talk to you while they're talking to you, and like, I've already got like
100
all this
mental
information in
images
front of me
going
right
on.
now.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
sorry,
like,
but
that
this
makes
is why I hate
sense.
hairdressers. Apart from my new man, my man Van, I love, but hairdressers really, really stress me out because of all of that overload. You've got like somebody with a hairdryer talking to you, and then they start talking to the person like behind them, but they're still looking at you, and you can't read any of it, and it's just so chaotic. It just really stressed me out. But my man Van now, he's my first ever hairdresser that I just completely feel calm
Big ups.
with. Yeah, you got my man Van.
Big ups Ronan's man van.
Man.
Do we want to pick some favourite songs from the album? Personal favourites from people?
I have like different categories. I feel like To Be Alive was the song that like hit me, resonated. Also Holy, really enjoy Holy Till You Let Me Go. And then just really like groove into Frankenstein as well. I just love the way it builds and like it's a proper like get hyped song, I feel like.
I feel like Frankenstein's one of those ones you could throw in on a gym playlist.
Yeah, for sure. They're probably my top. Oh, yeah, and Send My Love to John as well. I just think it's beautiful and it stood out to me as like different from the rest.
I want to know the story behind that song, and I really want to re-listen to that. I noticed it felt emotional, but I just don't think I clearly wasn't listening to the lyrics properly to feel the full emotion. So I need to go back to that. I'd go for This Hell just for the straight up really catchy pop banger, I guess. I also felt like I had heard that somewhere before and I couldn't pinpoint where. I think maybe just somebody I know has been playing it, something like that. One of Hannah's housemates, something. But yeah, I just enjoyed that a lot. Very catchy. Your Age, I just kind of loved the beat, but again, I don't think I really appreciated what it was about. So I need to go back to it. But the beginning of that beat with the little I don't even know what it is. Like, is it like a kind of little sort of Indian instrument or something like that? And then the sort of drum beat kicks in. It almost reminded me like it could have been like a Gorillaz song or something like that. But enjoyed that. And then it was Imagining, which I just loved. Again, partly for like the production sound, like with all its kind of sort of little garagey beat and stuff like that. But also it kind of gave me a bit of that Olivia Rodriguez kind of pop punk kind of vibe, even though it's very much like it's like an electro pop meets pop punk. I guess a little bit of sort of almost hyper poppy kind of vibe, having talked about some of that. Basically I loved the energy of it. It kind of feels, again, like what I was saying about a lot of the album, quite empowering, quite like just let it all out.
Nice. I think my picks would be, I want to give Hold the Girl a shout out, titular track, because it's been in my head rent free since listening to this.
Very catchy.
It's just been stuck in my head all day at work today, all yesterday. And it's also, I think I'm probably a little bit biased towards it because I think it's the first one I heard, because it came on like a Discover Weekly, and that's like kind of how that was like my only connection to this album before fully deep diving into it. So I think it has that sense of familiarity, which means, you know, it holds a favorite spot. And I'll also pick, I think these ones you've already mentioned these ones, but I do Your Age. I found kind of the most emotionally effective, in the sense that I could really feel like the emotion like behind it. And then Send My Love to John, for all the reasons previously mentioned, and also because it was kind of on my first listen, it's when I got to Send My Love to John that I was like, oh, this is like country pop. And then I was like, oh, all these songs have been different kinds of pop, and I just didn't really think about it. And then on my second listen, I was picking up on like things that you just mentioned, and like kind of more Euro pop, Brit pop, electro pop, all these different influences in it. And at the first time round, I was just kind of really like vibing along to the high energy of it all. And then obviously Semi Love to John is such a switch up in the sense that it's this kind of a more emotional, acoustic-y, ballady one. It's not acoustic and ballady, but it is still poppy. But compared to the others, it feels a bit of switch up, and that was that kind of moment that made me notice the other songs' differences to each other as well. So I kind of want to shout it out for that, as well as all the other reasons that we mentioned before. They're my picks. Thank you very much for picking this album, Sophie. It was a really enjoyable listen. I really enjoyed listening to it.
That's all right.
Do you have a quiz for us, Sophie?
I do. So I was like really struggling because I was like, I've literally just got someone's name and then hold the girl. Like, what do I go off from that? It's not like, it doesn't lead to a topic or a question really, you know? So we've just gone a bit out the box. That's okay, I think.
I'm so
Ready for
excited.
question one?
Louis, do the sing quickly.
Oh, yeah. I forgot I have to do this one out loud. It's time for the quiz. Do.
Wow, that was so good. I had to do it because I wanted to feel involved.
Yeah. Yes.
Lovely.
Okay, so question one. Rina, Royal Institute of Naval Architects,
Yes.
was
This is like a throwback to Flotus.
was founded in London to, and I quote, advance the art of science and ship design. The art and science of ship design. Sorry, I fucked that up. So
Very
in what
important.
year was Rina founded? I'll give the point to whoever gets closest.
Oh, bloody hell.
Okay. I think, Ronan, we should return to the setting of just saying it
Yeah.
out loud.
Yeah.
With it being an audio format, I realised that as typing the answers last time didn't work as well. But I'm happy to go first on this one.
Okay, go on.
If I'm going to take a punt at. I should have thought of an answer before.
I think I know what I'm going to go for.
I'm going to say 1753.
Ooh, okay, because I was going to say
Aw.
1779.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. So Ronan is closer.
Fuck.
Actually, 1860.
Oof, okay.
That's so much later than I
That
thought
is-
it would be.
yeah. I was thinking like Enlightenment kind of.
It is naval architects. Like, that's a very specific group, you know?
But like, we've been building boats long time.
I guess so, yeah.
This country was built on boats. And
I didn't
exploitation.
engage my mind palace and see the calendar. I should have zoomed in.
You need to zoom in.
I was,
You
I was
need to
too
go
far
1 to
left.
20.
Too far left.
Yeah.
I was far too far left. Oh god, I
Yeah.
thought Ronan had lost his like ability to guess.
Well, I
these
have really.
closer
That wasn't
things,
very
but-
close, unfortunately. I'm really quite upset about it as well.
Okay, well, this next one is different. Okay, it's not a closest. Okay, so in MMA, there are a number of different types of choke holds. That's the link. Which of the following have I made up? A, the guillotine. B, the gallows. Or C, the go-go platter.
A.
Guillotine.
Can I do the same? Can I? Is that
You
allowed?
both think the guillotine is fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, it's actually the gallows.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
The guillotine, it says here, is an execution style choke.
Bloody hell.
You put the opponent keeps the head and neck exposed. You take the opportunity to slip your arm around, slide it under the chin, pull the arm upwards, and you'll be able to completely paralyze the opponent.
Jesus. Is that allowed? Presumably not permanently
I guess so. Yeah, I guess just while they're in that position.
Sure, okay. That
Yeah.
makes a bit more sense. God, that's intense.
Yeah, the go-go platter. You put a leg on either side of their neck.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love
It
how we
says
didn't even talk about how crazy Go-Go Platter is, because it was like, we
Wait,
knew
it was
so
just
crazy
so
had
it
to
was
be.
so out there. It was like it has to be real. Yeah. It was between, and I was like, the gallows felt sufficiently boring, and the guillotine felt the kind of the in between
Sure.
that it felt fake. It was like
I was thinking
it's a little bit French, it's a little bit fancy, but it's not the goo goo platter, so it must be like,
I mean, for something to be called the guillotine, I just assumed that I mean, to be called that accurately, it would be illegal. It was my logic.
Yeah.
Well, I literally know nothing about MMA. I just couldn't think of anything to do with the word hold, other than choke hold, apparently. Okay. Number 3, Rina Kent is a best-selling international author, according to her website, which I think is one of
I love that it's according to her website.
well, it's one of the funniest websites I have ever stumbled across. I actually couldn't. It's a goldmine of comedy. So this isn't the question, but this is her bio. Okay. Who is Rina? Darkness is her playground. Suspense is her best friend, and twists are her brain food. However, she likes to think,
twist!
she likes to think she's a romantic at heart in some way. So don't kill her hopes just yet. Her heroes are anti-heroes and villains, because she was always the weirdo who fell in love with the guys no one roots for.
What?
Her books are sprinkled with a touch of mystery, a healthy dose of angst, a pinch of violence, and lots of intense passion.
Isn't passion by definition intense? I mean, it's a non-intense passion.
It's another level. It's a level up from that. Double it. Take your passion and double it.
Okay. Which of the following is not one of her book titles? A. Empire of Desire. B. Whisper of Lust. Or C. Tempted by Deception.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Empire of Desire. Whisper of Lust. What was the last one?
Tempted by Deception.
Tempted by Deception. No.
I'm going to use your logic, Louis. I think the first one feels like the most middle, almost.
Yeah, I understand, because Whisper of Lust is ridiculous.
That's the one I don't want that to be the one, because I want that to be real. I really want that to be real.
Tempted by Deception is kind of like the boring one of the three, in my opinion.
Yeah, but also like
An Empire of Desire is just so perfect it can't be real. But I also don't want to pick that as my answer. I'm going
to go for the first one. I'm going to go for the first one because I'm going to use your Louis method.
Mm.
Thing is, I'm going to be really upset if my method gains you a point and I vote for something else.
Isn't that then a victory of sorts? I mean, I still get the point, so it's not.
Empire of Desire does feel like something you'd make up, Sophie.
I mean, all of these feel made up. I'm on her.
They really do.
She's written about 30 books.
But it's what you would make up pretending to be this woman. Man. No, I think I am going to go with Empire of Desire as well.
Interesting. So the one made up is Whisper of Lust.
No!
Yes.
However, in the Empire series, there is Empire of Desire, Empire of Lust, Empire of Sin, Empire of Hate. So, there you go.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Oh, I haven't been keeping track, actually. You both lost the last two.
Ronan's
right?
winning.
Yeah. Okay.
Ronan's got 1 point. But if I can win this one, I can draw.
Okay. Well, there's this final one makes all the difference because there's lots of points to play for. Okay.
Ooh.
So, what was the most popular girl's name for babies in 2022? Now, I'll give you 1 point if you get a name in the top 10, 2 points if you get a name in the top 3, and 3 points if you get the top 1 name.
Is this globally? Or is this UK or US?
I would assume not globally.
Hmm.
I can't find. I don't know what page I was on now. It'll be on my browser history.
Okay, I think I feel like I might know this.
Oh.
Actually, I don't know why I'd know this.
That scares me. I don't know this. I have a guess.
It just says baby center. It doesn't say. It says .com.
Ooh, okay. Oh, I'm just gonna guess mine anyway. I have no idea.
Okay.
All right, you go first.
I feel like I
Ronan.
can't say the reason I'm guessing this for confidentiality reasons, but Isla.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm gonna be very meta and go with Rina.
Wow. You both got 0.
Oh.
No, I thought this was gonna be like a clever twist. Like, oh, the connection is it's the artist's name.
No, it's just because it says girl. Like, oh, girl. Yeah.
I thought I'd big
Louis
brained
always ready for
Yeah.
like the big twists. They just never come.
it. They never come.
But some of these names, I was quite surprised. So
We get the top
the
5.
7th most popular is Luna. I'm like, I have
Wow.
never met a
Luna.
Luna. And number 10 is Evelyn.
Yeah, but in fairness, how many girls born in 2022 have you met?
Yeah, that's true. So the top 5 are, from 1 to 5, are Olivia, Emma, Amelia, Ava, and Sophia.
Oh wow.
Surprisingly, like normal.
Mm.
I was expecting some crazy names.
Ava's not a super common name, I feel.
Yeah, I don't know many Avas our name. Also,
I know.
Sophia was a surprise.
Yeah, rather than
Sophia's-
It's a
Sophie.
beautiful city.
Yeah, Sophia's overtaken Sophie.
Oh, well, that was a cracker, and I had a lot of fun.
Lovely jubbly. Should we wrap it up there?
Yeah, go on then.
I don't think we've got anything else to touch on. I don't know what next week's next episode's album is going to be yet, because our next guest hasn't decided.
Ooh.
They're feeling the pressure a little
okay.
bit, I think. So that'll have to be. I mean, I'll obviously let you know beforehand, Ronan, so you can listen
course.
to it. But for everyone else, it'll be a surprise. But we do have a guest lined up for the next week, and then the week after that is going to be a Christmas themed one. So that will be interesting. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Sophie.
Alright.
Thank you for choosing a fantastic, bold, beautiful pop album. It's nice to mix things up a little bit, even though it was yet another therapy album. That does seem to be our running theme.
It's not just. I feel like Rina would be upset if she knew people were calling it a therapy album. Do you know what I mean?
Too reductive.
I don't know that. I feel like she would be like, it's not just that. Do you know what I mean?
Therapy album.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
more
much
than
more.
that.
And so much more. More of something else entirely, you could say.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're the first
beautiful.
guest to smoothly bring that title in. That's
Oh, wow.
should get a special prize for that.
Thank you.
You do, yeah. Shout out also to Nymph.
She's on Spotify now under her own name.
Thank you all very much for listening. You can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Amazon Music, all the good places. You can also find Nymph on all the exact same places, linked down in the description below. We have an Instagram that we post about when we release a new episode there, and maybe we'll do other fun stuff on there one day.
Follow me on TikTok. I've got 3 videos.
Oh yeah, what's your TikTok?
It's the same as
What's your
as
at?
my Instagram at curlyhaired nymph.
At Curlyhead Nymph. Lovely. Maybe we'll make a more of something else entirely TikTok, and we can do collabs. We can duet each other.
Curly abs.
I love these attempts at smooth little combinations.
It's infectious, isn't it?
Brilliant. All right, it is infectious. We'll leave it there. Lovely. Thank you very much.
The communists have nothing to offer but fat cheeks and eyeglasses and lying policemen. And the capitalists proffer napalm and money in green suitcases for the naked. And the communists create heavy industry, but the heart is also heavy.